Hi guys, in this video we're going to be talking about adding and subtracting That's not correct. We're going to be talking about solving rational equations. I need to change the header up here. It's going to be solving rational equations. The first thing we want to start off with is this idea of extraneous solutions. And the big idea here is this. You can't divide by zero. Okay, so sometimes when we go through and we solve some problems for x, like what you see here or what you see here, we're going to get values and we're going to say x looks like it appears to be this, okay, some number, okay? But the problem is if that value would result in us having a zero in the bottom of the fraction, that's an issue that we have to avoid, okay? So the first step to every single problem is just to simply identify the values of x we must avoid. Okay, so for instance, the first thing that I would like you to do in this particular problem, and what we're going to do here is we're going to use cross multiplication to solve. Okay, but the first thing we do before we go any farther and before I start talking cross multiplication is this. I look at the bottom here and I say, okay, I have x plus 1. What value do I need to avoid? What value of x plus 1 would give me a 0? I say that the x plus 1 cannot be equal to 0. And if I subtract 1 from both sides, that means that the x can't be a negative 1. Okay, that's by subtracting 1 from both sides. So negative 1 is going to be an issue. Let's say that I go through and I solve this problem and it turns out that x equals negative 1 is the solution. I'm going to have to cross it out because x cannot be negative 1. In other words, if I put negative 1 in here, I would get negative 1 plus 1, which is 0, and I'd have 3 divided by 0 as part of the problem. Okay, over here on this side, I would say, okay, well, 4x plus 5 can't be 0. And so that means if I subtract 5 from both sides, that means that the 4x couldn't be a negative 5. And that means if I divide out the 4, that the x couldn't be negative 5/4. It couldn't be negative 1.25. That would be an issue. So if I go through and I solve the problem later and I get negative 1.25 for the answer, I've got to cross it out. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. That's what extraneous solutions are. Okay, what we're going to do is you're going to see me do that in every single problem at the beginning. But that's going to be it for the first video. I'm going to create a second video here in just a second where we actually finish out these two problems where we're going to solve by cross multiplying.